K-pop legend BTS has returned home after completing their tour concerts held across various continents, including North America and Europe. The sensational Korean boy band already has an impressive list of feats under their belts, including appearances on prime TV shows in the U.S. and a spectacular concert in Wembley Stadium. The K-pop phenomenon is set to stand on the stage at Rose Bowl Stadium in L.A., becoming the first Korean artist group to do so. And their record-breaking achievements on global stages have earned them a spot next to music icons such as Michael Jackson and the Beatles. Today, we go in-depth on the BTS craze and the future of K-pop with an expert. But first, let's turn to Arirang's Lee Min-sun for the latest on BTS.
South Korean boy band BTS have returned to their home country after a month-long world tour. They are set to perform and meet with fans at the port city of Busan this weekend. And the city is making the final preparations to host the group's army of followers. Some 45,000 fans are expected to attend the fan meeting and performance at the Busan Asiad Auxiliary Stadium. But the city could see even more visitors, including more than 4,000 fans from abroad. Busan City plans to mobilize hundreds of local police personnel around the concert venue to ensure fans' safety. Adding to the excitement, every night since Tuesday, 7 of the city's landmarks, including Gwangan Bridge, Busan Cinema Center, and Busan Tower, have been lit up with purple lighting, which is the color that represents BTS. Some fans have even decorated subway station walls with pictures of the 7-member group. Busan is known as a popular tourist destination and is the hometown of BTS members Jimin and Jungkook. Specifically for the group's die-hard fans, Busan's tourism organization has made special tour recommendations. The tourism organization has selected some spots related to the band members' childhood memories. One such place is the elementary school Jimin attended. Hwaedong Elementary School closed down last year and has been turned into a nutrition experience center. Fans can visit the very place where their idol used to spend his childhood and can stop at nearby restaurants to enjoy local dishes. Lee Min-sun, Arirang News.
And for a more in-depth discussion, we're joined by Professor Lee Kyu-tak of George Mason University, Korea. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Hello.
Let's start off with the boy band's latest performance. Their tour concert ended recently. What's your observation of their shows?
Actually, they had shows in London at Wembley Stadium for 2 days, June 1st and June 2nd. And they also had 2 shows at Paris, State of France, on June 7th and 8th. And all the 4 shows were actually all sold. And crowds of 230,000 people came to enjoy their show, which was really great. And one thing I found is that their show was not only enjoyed and loved by their fans, but also highly praised by British and French local media, such as BBC, The Telegraph, AFP, and the other French local media, that they were really surprised that the non-Western and non-English speaking songs and group actually became this huge, great, successful, and drew many number of fans into their shows.
I guess all of that really shows how popular they are in other parts of the world.
Right.
And their latest album, Map of the Soul Persona, is now ranked number 31 on the Billboard 200. And on the Billboard Social 50, BTS is retaining its top spot for the 100th week.
Right.
Now, the boy band has also received 2 Billboard Music Awards, and I can go on all night on their latest achievements. Could you walk us through the major feats achieved by the BTS?
Okay. BTS has become the very first Asian group who made a #1 album on Billboard chart. Which is really surprising because before BTS there were only very few foreign language album, non-English album before BTS, and all the foreign language albums were actually very European language such as Spanish or Italian. So it is the very first time that BTS made their album on the very top of the Billboard chart, the non-Western, non-European language. And also they have made 3 consecutive #1 albums two last year and one this year. It's also the very new phenomenon for Billboard chart as well as the US music industry, so it was also very surprising for them. So we can say that their success is not only the very success of Korea, but also success of the Asian culture or the East Asian culture that was not really known to the international audience. But now many global audience are watching at the rise of the Korean music and Korean culture as well, which is really interesting.
I'm sure many Koreans are very proud about that. Their achievements are beyond successful. They're unprecedented for any Korean artist.
Right.
What would you say is the significance or implication of all these record-breaking achievements?
One thing I found interesting that many international magazines or international media, including US media and other media, are considering BTS is the very cultural symbol of the new generation, which is Generation Z, or sometimes called Gen Z, that they are from non-Western country, non-United States, but they are now drawing attention from the global audience with the non-English language, which is Korean. It cannot be imaginable before that non-English album, the non-English song can be sung along by the global audience in its own language, Korean. So many music critics and the media are really surprised that the song from not the very culturally dominant country before are now dominating the world and make the younger audience from the global countries communicate with each other.
But it's not the first time. BTS is not the first Korean artist to make
Right.
it to the Billboard ranking lists. But of course, it goes without saying that they surely stand out. Why? Why? What's so different and special about them?
Actually, after the success of Gangnam Style, many Korean K-pop boy bands or girl bands have tried to penetrate into US market or global market. Some of them were moderately successful, but not as big as BTS has done. Many fans and music critics alike are pointing out that the performance, mostly the performance by the BTS is really different from the performance from the other K-pop musicians, that not only dynamic, not only active, the very performance is when it is combined with their music, it can deliver a kind of the very message directly to the global audience. You know that they cannot understand Korean language, but still they can understand their music, their performance, and when they watch these kinds of the very unique performance that they can find, that this music can communicate with their own mind, even though they do not fully understand what the lyric is saying.
So performance is definitely a huge factor.
Right, and also the music as well.
Now, you are a pop culture critic
Yeah,
yourself. So as a pop culture critic, how do you personally assess their music?
Actually, when they began their career in 2013 and in their early days in 2014, they focus more on hip-hop music rather than the typical K-pop music, focusing on electronic dance music with choreography. So actually they were harshly criticized both by hip-hop fans and K-pop fans alike at the beginning, because hip-hop fans thought that they were not the real hip-hop. They were just the kind of the idols who tried to look like a hip-hop musician. And K-pop fans also did not really like them because they were not really attractive as other K-pop musicians, because they are more focusing on hip-hop music. But now it is becoming their own strength, that as the very typical hip-hop musician, they can create their own songs, they can write their own lyrics, and they can deliver their own message with their own music, which is really different from the K-pop musicians who have been mostly provided music and songs by the professional composers or their own labels. So BTS now has become not just the pop idols, but is considered as the musician, the artist that can create their own music, convey their message with their own music by themselves.
One of the interesting traits of BTS songs is that they strike a chord with themes that everyone can easily relate to. For instance, they're a series of Love Yourself. They actually delivered a speech at the UN under that theme, Love Yourself. How do you see this?
It is interesting that when global fans are asked that why you like BTS, many of them actually answer that BTS actually gave comfort and some kind of encouragement to them, which is really interesting because they cannot fully understand the lyrics, they cannot fully understand the music maybe, but still when they enjoy BTS, they can feel kind of comfort and encouragement because BTS has always talked about their own life based on their own experience, not just the very typical love songs or not just like showing some kinds of the kind of materialism, the exaggerated materialism that many hip-hop musicians has delivered so far. So global leaders can sympathize with what BTS are saying. So that might be the reason why BTS can give such kind of speech in front of all the global audience. And they also can give the speech at the United Nations, which can be the very symbol of the worldwide.
Now, I hear most of Korea's idol groups that refer to boy bands or girl groups have their own unique way of viewing the world, and so does BTS. Could you elaborate on this kind of trend and how this trend is being received by fans across the globe?
Okay. I cannot say that it is mandatory, it is necessary for all the K-pop groups to have these kinds of unique worldview. But when, in the case of BTS, this kind of worldview shaped a sort of solidarity among all the different fans, which means that the BTS fans can differentiate themselves from the general audience who do not know much about the very unique worldview made by BTS or do not have any interest in BTS. So when they come to know what BTS is talking about, what BTS has shaped the very new world, then suddenly they can become a kind of exclusive member of the new world, cannot be penetrated by the older generation or cannot be interpreted by the older generation, but still they can be the very member of that world, which shape the fans are in one, regardless of their nationality or their race and their ethnicity as well.
Now, you've mentioned several times that fans are really liking BTS's lyrics, and they were comforted by the lyrics. But it's interesting how BTS is not really planning to release an English album.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
It is interesting that when the director and the owner of their label, BTS label, Bang Si-hyuk, when he was interviewed by Korean media, he actually made a statement that he does not have any plan to produce that English album because he does not think that it is a K-pop based on the English lyrics produced by like international composers and producers. So I think that BTS is identifying themselves as the K-pop musician, not just a very typical global musician that can differentiate them from the other other pop musicians. So it can be their own strength. And also their fans do not really want BTS to release the English album because the reason that they chose BTS is that BTS is different from the typical US and other global stars. So when they release the English albums in English lyrics or produced and composed by the international musicians, fans are worried that BTS might lose their own uniqueness or their own identity as the K-pop band. So they may not want to release the English album or the English-produced songs.
So I guess we could say it is part of their strategy.
Right.
Their record label, Big Hit Entertainment, and its chief executive, Bang Si-hyuk, clinched memberships to the U.S. Recording Academy, the decision-making body that annually selects the Grammy Award winners. How significant is this?
The K-pop industry is a bit different from the typical global music industry because in K-pop, the entertainment agency or the label is more important than the typical recording labels in global music industry, which means that the owner or the director of the label is the very important figure in the very success of BTS. So, I mean, Bang Si-hyuk is also one of the very important contributor to the global success of the BTS. So I think that he now has been also considered as one of the music leader of the global music industry, although he is not a member of the mainstream US music industry, but still he has his own influence on the US music industry and the international music industry. So that might be the reason why he has chosen by the Grammy Awards to be there as the member. And also the very system that he has constructed to make BTS successful also has been recognized by the US music industry and also the Grammy Awards as well.
And one last question for you. K-pop stars have raised the bar and the status of K-pop in the global music industry, and their influence is still growing. Do you expect this trend to continue?
Actually, the very globalization of K-pop began in this stage at about 20 years ago, and it has been going global outside this stage since the late 2000s. So I think that it has been almost like a decade, 10 years that K-pop has been popular and globalized. So I think that the trend will not end soon. So it means that it has established its very strong fan base who are really loyal to their stars and music. So they may support K-pop and K-pop musicians, not in a very short period, but maybe the very longer period than we may expect.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Lee, for your thorough analysis tonight.
Thank you.
And that does it for this edition of News in Depth. From all of us here at Arirang, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you right back here, same time tomorrow.